Welcome everybody, Supreme Being. This is another episode for you. I believe we're on episode almost 100 from the podcast. First and foremost, we always start with the announcements. This podcast is sponsored by Team BC Sold, my real estate team. If you need any help, you have any questions, real estate worldwide, we'll take care of you. Make sure that you message us at teambcsold@gmail.com, or you can go to teambcsold.com to go straight to our website and make an inquiry. Number two, if you want to partner with me at EXP, go to partnerwithteambc.com and check that out and sign up for a call and make sure you watch that video. And lastly, Modern Success, my personal coaching and mentorship program for the planet. We've evolved much beyond sales and real estate, and I highly recommend you join that program, as some of the things that I've learned along my journey, I share on that with my personal students, and it definitely is different. Okay, so let's get started. I want to talk today about words specifically, but also how people go through the process of getting more immune, we can say, to criticism and hate. And then I'm going to give you some examples that go along with it, okay? I do notice that people still, when it comes to other people's actions and words and things outside of themselves, they still get too triggered, they still get too offended. And I help people with this because a lot of times people have issues not related to this, where this issue that we're talking about here, them getting offended or the fear of criticism or judgment or something like that, that's the root of the issue. Okay, let's get this straight. It's the root, but because it shows up somewhere else, they dress it up as another issue or problem. So if you attempt to attack that other problem, you're not going to the root. And everything I teach, everything that I preach is to get to the root and rip it out. You want to get rid of a weed, what do you need to do? You don't chop the top, you rip out the root. Then you get rid of it, the weed's gone, and now you're good to go. Okay? That's the way you need to think. So a lot of times when it comes to issues that people have about words, for example, right? Let's say some trigger words right now. Pussy, faggot, right? Those are a couple that people get really triggered, right? Typically people who are homosexual, they hear faggot, they get really, really upset. You know, we have racial slurs. We have a bunch of shit, right? Where people get offended. Hell, when I say shit, it offends some people. Okay? Now, if in your personal taste, you don't like those words, you don't want to hear them, of course, that's fine. However, at the root, even if you disagree, okay, because I'm not one who promotes racism and all that. I think that's stupid. I think it's ignorant, personally. But hey, all I need to do and all I can do is be a demonstration of what I feel is the right way to exemplify treating human beings, interacting with them, and living my life. Okay, that's all I can do. I can't control what other people do. Okay, this is why with this platform, I get my message out as much as I can. However, if somebody wants to come to me now with derogatory terms, racial slurs, whatever the fuck it is, you can line up the whole fucking planet to call me a piece of shit. I don't care. Like, I literally laugh in the face of that. It doesn't bug me anymore. It used to. Believe me, it used to. You know why? Because there was an insecurity behind it and many other things. I don't want to get too into it, but I want to give you some examples of how we can handle it, because that's the root of this, okay? I've been through a tremendous journey where now it takes so much, and I still have my moments, sure, where I fall back into old patterns every once in a while. I'm not perfect. However, for the most part, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to really throw me off my path. Now, if we trace this, right? When you have such an intense reaction to something you don't like, for example, okay? Even if it is your personal taste, if it fucks you up that much, that in itself is an issue, okay? How is a word, a set of letters in the English language said to you, how does that completely go into your system, like your body, your mind, and you hear it, and then you just go nuts? And you can't control your next thought, your next action, okay? That tells me you're not in control of yourself, your mind, and how you respond to things. And we know the person who is the effect of other things, because in that moment, if we go back to the cause and effect from last week, you're being the effect, okay? When you're effect, you're susceptible, you're weak. You can be manipulated. You can be changed. And when I say manipulate, I don't mean what society tells you. Manipulate is simply to change. If I take a piece of paper and make a swan, I manipulated that paper into the swan. That's not a bad thing. That's just something you do, okay? Even that word triggers people. Manipulate, seduction, sales, right? It's nuts. But when you allow that to happen, you're being the effect. Now, when you're the effect, you're not in control, okay? and someone else has control over you. So that tells me, something's off. We've all been in situations in the past, whether recently or maybe a long time ago before you handle this issue, if you have handled it, where somebody says something to you and it fucks up your whole day. One thing happens, one thing is said, something happens, and in many cases, it's out of your control. That's an indicator. And it fucks up your day, your week, and for some people, their life. Because they keep regurgitating that story over and over. Okay? Now, many people are going to then say, well, I get that. You're right. However, I want to fix it now. I want to do something about it. What do I do? Well, the first thing I tell people is where there's weakness, that's where you need to go. So for that individual who's triggered by certain things, actions, words, I say that's where you need to go play. You need to go take a shower in that immediately and be all up in it. You know why? Because that's how you develop that thick skin and that immunity to it. Case in point, right? My family comes from a third world country, okay? And what I see, just by sheer observation, okay? Let's say somebody's a little bit more poor, right? And that kid grows up with not the type of clothes that the richer kids have, or that have more money, we can say, not necessarily rich. They don't have heating systems, they don't have cooling systems, so on and so forth. And those kids, as an example, physically, as a human being, are exposed to the elements more than the kids who have money. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, the kids who may be in that underprivileged position, who are exposed to the elements, they develop more immunities than the kids who don't have that exposure. Watch those kids growing up. They get sick less, unless they're in extreme poverty where they can't eat or drink water. Then that's separate. But I'm talking in a general case. Those kids have more resistance to cold, they have stronger immune systems, and they're more adaptable to the elements compared to the kids who had more. Why? Because they were exposed to it. Okay? They were exposed to that. Therefore, they responded. The human apparatus, we can say, is very adaptable. Okay? It's very resilient, and it adapted, and it made them stronger in that context than the other individual who had a little bit more money. Now, this is common sense. If you didn't know it, well, now you know it. This is a simple, real-life example to tell you how some of these things pop up. Now, what I just said, we don't think about, okay? But that's a fact. You can look it up. So now we have a kid who obviously was just born into that family, didn't know better, but he has better immunities and a stronger system than the other guy in a case where he had less money, right? So seems weird, but it's true. So now when we step into the realm of, well, I'm still getting offended by words and this and that, you expose yourself to it just like that example. That's how you build this immunity to it, okay? You now have a clear marker to see not only where you're at, but how much progress you've made. If I'm constantly triggered by certain words, I need to make a note, day one. Whenever I get called, for example, a fag, okay? I don't use that word, but hey, I get called a fag. And I just get livid. I get so upset. This is day one. Now I'm going to start working on this. I'm going to go where people are going to call me that. Just for the sole intention of me ridding myself of this. We follow that person. 30 days later, I guarantee you, that individual will have a less intense response and will have more control over that word that's said to him. Substitute that word for whatever. Social situations. I'm super nervous. I freeze up. I don't know what to say. Go out and talk to people. Put yourself in those situations and you'll see. If you track your progress from day 1 to day 30, 45, 60, 90, 120, you're going to legitimately, on paper, see the difference as you improve. It's inevitable to improve. You can't not improve by doing this. Even if you're not the most intelligent or most eloquent or whatever it is for whatever example that I give, by immersing yourself in whatever it is that you have to do, you will get better. You'll figure it out. It's in your nature as a fucking human being. Okay? Just like when I started real estate, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So a lot of it, I had to go back to the bat cave at night and say, well, I'm having issues with this or that. I need to figure it out. I need to formulate something that comes from within me to crack this code so I can start getting results. So just like the person who exposes himself to that word that pisses them off all the time, eventually they just laugh at it, which is the point that I'm at. I used to read YouTube comments back in the day, and when people would talk shit, I'd want to fire back and say, fuck these people. ignorant fucks living in their mom's basement, blah, 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 blah. Sure. And maybe to a certain extent, I still think that a little bit. However, now, when I see it, I can formulate a better response. A lot of times I laugh. And two, if I do engage with them, there's no resistance. And I say, you know what? Cool. Thanks for sharing. I just don't care. It's insignificant now in my world and in my mind and in my system. So that second example is somebody who has grown and matured in that area, built up the immunity, moved on and leveled up versus the first one. Because I could go through and handle everybody, but fuck you, but what's the point? That's a less evolved individual. So if anything, if you want a bar that you can say, the more evolved version of me, how would they respond to blank, insert the blank? A curse word said at them, a racial slur, whatever the fuck it is. How would the more evolved version of me respond to that? That's going to give you an indicator, and that's the right question to present your mind that's going to give you a better answer. Okay? So when in doubt, ask that. The more evolved version of me, what would he do in this situation? Simple. Okay? Now, to a lot of people that whoop-de-doo, that doesn't seem, well, this is the shit that I geek out on that I like. You know why? Because this is personal and human development. This is mindset. This is how I live. This is, by the way, one of those little secrets, not really secret, but one of those exercises that makes you more fulfilled as a human being. Because you're less the effect of the world and you're more cause. So I can be more in control and cause good feelings, good emotions, good energies, and good vibes to the people around me and help others versus constantly being the effect. And if you're a teacher or you want to be a teacher, you better come from a cause point, not effect. Imagine if you're a teacher and every student puts you at effect. When they have a question or they diss you or they're unruly, imagine that. Imagine that teacher who has zero control. The one who's in cause has control. Two cause points meet, the one who becomes effect first loses. And in these situations that I'm giving you, whether it's a word, an action, somebody does to you, and you become the effect, you lose. You lose. Now you can be effect, of course, when you choose to. Okay? But this is a real life example of shit that to the core messes with people on a daily basis. So what I just said, let's say a word offends somebody gets into the business world and they have in the back of their mind a thought that, hey, if I engage with this group who is a group of potential customers, there's a chance they may say that word to me. Guess what? They're going to run away from that group, even though that group might have the customers that are going to determine their success. Because they might be new. That might be a qualified pool of individuals who are going to purchase that person's product or service, and they'll avoid them because of this phantom chance that's in their mind that they're scared that they're going to call them that word or say something, right? Again, fill in the blank. It could be anything. Then we follow that person who didn't go after that group of people because they're scared of that word, and you ask them, why didn't you go after them? And they're going to tell you a different story. So now the issue gets covered up. It's like the real issue gets buried in the dirt and covered up. So after a while, that individual forgets that issue is buried and covered up. So they have a garden of all these issues that are covered up, and they're like, fuck, I don't even know what's there anymore. I have so many that are dug in here. It could be 20, 50, 100. I have no fucking clue. Then what happens? The person gives up and says, fuck it. Now they never get out of their comfort zone. They never try anything new because they have all these hidden fucking things that they never handled in the first place. And this is one of them. This is one of the major ones. And it's one of the biggest roots and cause of suffering in human beings, for sure, because they're the effect of everything. Every little thing. And again, 99% of these things are out of our control. I can't control if somebody walks up to me and calls me a fucking asshole or a faggot or this and that. I can't. But I can control how I respond. So what's my response? Pull out a gun and shoot the fool and go to jail for 30 years? Or laugh and walk the other way? Or not say anything? Fill in the blank. We have people giving those exact responses that I just told you every day. That's why some go to jail, some keep living, some do this, some do that. Choose your own adventure as a human being, basically. You know what? Remember what I said? More evolved version, I'm going to go that way, done. Now it's handled, you move on, you're more at cause point, and guess what? Now you become more effective. Now these other questions that come up, how do you stay motivated? What do you do? How do I start? That shit will just dissolve. Because the root of a lot of those things is what I just told you. You're triggered by something you're insecure about. You're afraid of something that might come your way. And I see this every single day. a ton of the questions that I get from people on Instagram or YouTube or whatever it is, the root is this. Their question might not point to this, but by reading the question, I know it's this. We've been in a position now where people do use race, this, that, religion as a crutch. Now, I understand the world is fucked up and there still is racism and all that shit. I know. But there's people who use it as an excuse and there's people who don't. And they're doing some major fucking shit. Even bigger shit than me. And I'm looking at them like, fuck, I need to step my game up. Then you have the crowd who says, well, it's fucked up, blah, blah, blah. And they use it as a crutch. It's the same thing. It's because they don't want to confront that word, that term, that situation, that reality. Because if you were dealt a certain card, you were dealt that certain card. Whoever the dealer is, the universe or whatever fucking power it is, we don't know for a fact, but whatever it is, you can't sit there and cry and say, well, Mr. Dealer, I want a different card. This isn't fair. Where's that going to get you? You take the card and say, fuck it, this is the card I have to play. I'm going to play this shit to the maximum because that's what I've done. And that's what the people that are making waves and doing big things, that's what they're doing. We're not sitting here bitching and complaining about our card. And there's people who will spend their fucking lifetime looking at that card, cursing at it. This is bullshit. I should have been given an ace and blah, blah. Fuck that guy. He has a king and that guy has a jack and I got a 2. It's like, what the fuck, dude? That's a waste of your time and energy. For sure. For sure. So, the things that are out of my control are outside of my control. All I can say is in my world, right now, I'm going to remain cause point as much as possible. And when I am the effect, I look at the feedback, I fix the error, I look at what I need to do, then I take that course of action and I handle it. And as I start handling these things, we're going back to what I said in the beginning where you have all these things dug up and covered. I'm uncovering them, digging them up and replacing them and planting a flower or insert whatever you want. A dandelion, a fucking sunflower, whatever you prefer, whatever your spirit flower is, okay? And now you're digging up the bullshit and putting in a flower or something powerful, digging it up, boom. And we're methodically and systematically going through and doing this, doom, 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 doom. And after a while, after years of dedication to this, and this is one of those exercises that you do, you now start living a better life that's more fulfilled, and you start answering these mysteries and riddles of life that everyone has presented to you that you sit there and twiddle your thumbs about, but you actually take real life action through these methodologies, you fix it, and now you start living a better life. And it's not going to be as confusing and as bewildering to people when they look at me and say, how is he happy? How does he have so much energy? How does he stay so consistent? How is he doing this and that? It's because I've done these things, and I've been giving them to you piece by piece. How much are you actually applying, though? That's the question, because these are the methodologies. It's not like I'm saying it and then laughing when I turn off the camera. Ha ha ha, I didn't give them the whole thing. No, because then I have people DM me. Hey, bro, so what's this about? I'm like, did you watch the video? Well, great, that's it. If you DM me, the advice isn't going to be different. And to everybody who's asking, you want to pick somebody's brain or pick my brain, all I'm going to do is be repeating what I've already said. Picking my brain isn't going to help you, or picking someone else's brain isn't going to help you, because we're going to regurgitate the same shit we've been telling people for years. It's not going to be any different. It'll just be in person, which then is a waste of our time. It is. Sorry to burst your bubble. Okay? So, with that said, take the methodologies, use them, apply them, get to work. Start uncovering some of this bullshit, plant your flower, move on, grow, and blossom as an individual. Because then that's what creates the change. That's what allows you to live better, have more energy, and do all these other things that are already inside. You just have to unlock it. You've been covered up, okay? You've been covered with this candy shell, many layers of it that you need to crack through, all right? So with that said, I'll end this here. I'll take questions. As always, Team BC Sold, they sponsor this podcast. If you need anything, go to teambcsold.com. Check out Modern Success. The link is on my Instagram bio, or you can go to bryancasella.com and get on my coaching if that's something that would be of interest to you. And if you want to partner with me at Team BC, go to partnerwithteambc.com. Okay? Cool. Let's take some questions.